Welcome back to my channel Radiant Living. I am Dr. Pramod Joshi, MD Medicine, practicing last 44 years. In my last video, I explained you about the smart choice of cooking oils, how much to use, and how effectively to combine them over a week and over a month. Now, today in this video, we will understand what are the saturated fats like ghee, butter, cheese, etc. and why we need them in small quantities and what happens if we take them in excess quantities. Do watch this video to know everything about saturated fats, butter, ghee and cheese. Saturated fats are solid at room temperature. The animal source comes from the dairy products like butter, ghee, cheese and cream, or from the animal meat itself. The plant source comes from coconut oil and palm oil. These two oils have got 50% saturated fats and 50% unsaturated fats. That's why they are included under both the groups. The molecular structure of saturated fat does not have double bond. They have single bond. That's why they are very stable for storage and cooking. Our own body produces saturated fat in liver called as cholesterol. That's why we don't need large amount of saturated fat in our diet. Animal sources of saturated fats come from mainly dairy products, ghee, butter, cheese, full fat cream, or from the red meat of mutton, beef, pork, or processed meat like sausages, bacon, etc. And the plant source comes from coconut oil, coconut milk, palm oil, which is mainly used for processed foods like biscuits, noodles, and chips. A lot of bakery items like cakes, puffs, muffins, biscuits, chocolates and all confectionaries contain high amount of saturated fats. 1 gram of saturated fat gives 9 calories. That's why they act as a concentrated source of energy supply for body functions and lots of physical activities. Saturated fats act as a backup fuel system, particularly when the carbohydrate diet is low. Fats are burned to give energy for the all body functions throughout the day. In very small quantities, they are required for the development of the cell wall structures, nervous systems, and some hormones. Traditionally, in our diet, we have to consume small quantity of saturated fats so that our total, they should be less than 10% of our total calorie intake. Only the sports persons or athletes may require slightly larger quantity of saturated fats. They require good source of energy during their physical activities. Saturated fats help in absorption of vitamin A, D, E and K. Vitamin A is very important for the eyesight, good skin health and proper immune system function. Vitamin D, I have given you a separate video telling its all important benefits. Go through it. Vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant and protects the cell and also important for cardiovascular function. Vitamin K is essential for blood clotting process and also for bone metabolism. Small amount of saturated fats are important for production of hormones and body functions. They produce important hormone cortisol, sex hormones like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and they are important for development and building nerve structures and also producing insulating nerve sheaths called myelin sheaths, and hence they are required for the good functioning and signaling of the nervous system. Early part of life, the brain development depends on the saturated fats, but small amounts are required for that. They also improve the functioning of the immune system and overall body functions. Consumption of saturated fat in large quantity can increase the bad cholesterol or LDL, low density lipoprotein. If the LDL level remains high in the blood, it gets deposited under the inner lining of the arteries called endothelium and form a plaque. If the levels remains high for a longer period of time, this plaque increases in size and goes on building up and gradually narrows the arterial lumen. Sometimes it can block the artery completely and that can cause heart attack or strokes. Sometimes the plaque wall can become thin and it gets ruptured, and on the ruptured plaque the blood can clot and again can cause heart attack and stroke. That's why the consumption of the saturated fat should be kept as less as possible and LDL level should be kept in good control. Saturated fats are very tasty and they are very attractive bakery products. That's why one is likely to consume in excess, and by excess consumption the weight increases and can cause obesity. The excess fat will deposit in the visceral area, can increase insulin resistance and trigger diabetes. The fat cells, when they enlarge in size, they start behaving like a bad hormonal cells, produce more inflammatory markers like interleukin 6, etc., and increase inflammation in the body. This further worsens the diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, and arthritis, and many other conditions. The, the metabolic impact is the processed foods, particularly those who contain palm oil, should be consumed as less as possible. Otherwise, they can cause all above complications what we have told you. Daily consumption of saturated fat should be less than 10% of the total calories we consume. If you are consuming 2000 calories per day, then you are allowed to take only 20 to 22 grams of saturated fats, which is roughly about 4 teaspoons of the ghee or 1 tablespoon ghee plus small cube of 5 gram. But sometimes one average size pastry itself can complete that day's consumption of saturated fats. That's why for Indian cooking we recommend rice bran oil, groundnut oil or sesame oils rather than ghee or butter. So the tips for healthy eating: select heart friendly oils like groundnut, rice bran, coconut, mustard oil. Avoid cooking in ghee and butter. Limit consumption of fried foods, processed foods, snacks, bakery items, and heavy sweets. Give importance to the home cooking so you can control all the ingredients. Balance your plate and palate by consuming vegetables, whole grains, millets, sprouts, and proteins, and have a balanced combination of both the fats in small quantities and have a healthy living. Fat should be consumed to burn completely and not stack on your body. I hope you like this video. Do share it with your near and dear ones in your groups and friends, and subscribe to my channel by pressing bell icon. See you in the next video.